website is monetized. Okay, so basically the revenue models for a website, and it has been divided into 5 parts. The first is the advertisement. So everybody knows what the advertisement is. Okay, so whenever an advertisement is placed on a website, the website gets money from the advertiser who is advertising on the website. So that is one very famous and the easiest way to get money. And that is something which is not only applicable to the online medium, but you will find that equally important and applicable to the print and the webcast and the broadcast medium. And that is why it is said that, you know, the media business totally depends on advertising. And there is always a struggle. There is always an effort to, you know, look for an alternative to advertising, that what model can we bring or what system we can bring so that we are not dependent upon advertising and there can be other source of, you know, income for the website that we will be discussing. And I mean, whenever, you know, there is one important thing which I have told in the previous class also, that whatever happens in the West is basically imbibed in India also. And if it is successful in the West, maybe after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it is imbibed and it becomes a success in India also. So they are the one who are the pioneer setters. They are the one who sets the trend, and we are the one who follow it, and we follow it very successfully. So advertisements are of different type. You know it. It's a basically you can directly approach the client for the advertisement, and he, you know, puts the banner, makes the creative, along with the text what he wants to portray, and decides the place where he wants to advertise. So it can be just below the masthead, it can be on the left panel, it can be on the right panel, it can be on different story pages, that is inside the story page. So that is how the rates are also fixed. In fact, you you must be aware that even in the newspapers, what happens that when you advertise on the page 1, you have to pay the maximum amount of money, and certainly, you know, on other pages it keeps on decreasing, like city pages it decreases, and then on the nation page and the sports page and the business page. So they have different rates on the in the newspaper on different page. Similarly, in the magazine, you must be knowing that the you know, the advertisement which appears on the cover page, that means the cover page is one where the you know, the picture related to the cover story is there, and then the magazine name is there, and then the second page which appears after that is the highest, I mean the costliest advertisement page for a magazine, page number 2. And similarly, the back page and the page that appears after the back page is the second highest. So back page is the second, and the page that appears after the back page is the third highest. So that is the way, you know, advertising rates are fixed. And similarly, in the inside pages, the rate decreases. In the same way, in the TV channels, what you will find that they call it prime time and non-prime time. Prime time are the time when there is a maximum traction, and maximum traction means that maximum people are listening to that news channel or whatever the channel is. And during that time, the rates would be different from non-prime time. So during the non-prime time, the rates would be slightly less as compared to the prime time. So this is how this whole advertisement business works. in the media industry. I still remember listening to Mr. Vineet Jain, who's the owner of the Times of India, and he was saying that it is wrong to say that we are in the content business. We are actually in the advertising business. We are not in the content business. So it is the advertising which overtakes the content for us. So what I'm trying to say here by citing this example is that you can well understand the importance of advertising in a media setup, the importance of advertising as a revenue model in the entire media. So as far as the online media is concerned, uh, you can, as I told you, that you can directly approach the client, or the client can directly approach you for an advertisement, or you can, basically approach certain agencies like Google. Google, if you see, it is also an agency. When you approach them, they provide you with the advertisements and they pay you according to the click on the advertisements. So that is another way of, getting advertisement and earning money. Now, there are other, in fact, organizations, there are other bodies, there are other companies who are doing a similar work like what Google is doing, but slightly, differently. Say, for example, there's a company called Outbrain. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. In the last 2 to 3 years, it has emerged very strongly in the advertising domain. And what happens is that they basically recommend a reader the content to read. And basically, if somebody clicks on those content, then that particular website gets money. And those content are from various media houses. They collaborate and they do this business. So at the end of the article, you will find that, content recommended by Outbrain. It can be New York Times article, it can be Washington Post and whatever. And if somebody clicks on that article and reads it, then, you learn, you get certain amount of money from that. So there is some sort of sharing which happens. So this is how this entire advertising, the concept happens. Now, coming to the second important way of earning money and monetization on the website is the tie-ups. Now, tie-ups is basically the economic tie-ups with an which the the website does with another website or another platform and shares money in some proportion, then it is called tie-up. So MSN is one example which I have told you that how they function. So that they don't produce any content by themselves. No content is generated by them apart from, slide content related to picture gallery that they do on their own. So they tie up with other publishing agencies, other media houses, and those tie-up is done with an understanding that whatever, the revenue which the content will earn, it will be divided in certain proportion between the media house from where it has been taken and MSN. So generally the ratio is 60-40 or 70-30 is the, standard ratio which the MSN offers, which means they keep 60% of the money and they give 40% of the money to the partner, or 30% or 70%. So this is how, this happens, tie-ups. The tie-ups can be, other ways also. I mean, say for example, you can do a tie-up with certain mobile companies like Samsung, and the people coming from Samsung platform to your website, or any other platform to your website, you do an understanding, you do a revenue understanding that if I earn 100 rupees, I will pay you 20 rupees or 30 rupees, and the rest I will keep it to myself. So those all are basically tie-ups. Okay. Is that understood by everybody? The two main revenue earning methods that I explained to you. Okay. Then comes the third one, that is the syndication of content. Now, syndication of content, what does it mean? Can anybody tell? The people from the media background must be knowing it. What does it mean, the syndication of content? Anybody? No. Okay. So syndication of content is basically selling of content to the I mean, whosoever wants it. That is the syndication of content. You sell content. So here in the case of the MSN, it is not selling of the content. It is a tie-up. But syndication of content, when you say, you sell that content to a party, and that party has the right to use that content in whatever way it wants. Okay. So generally what happens that there are research centers, there are think houses, there are bodies in different countries who are interested and who are doing research, who wants to be aware of what is happening in India because of the various regions. So those bodies, they buy those content and use it for their work. So syndication of content is again a very important way of earning revenue, and it is generally done through some sort of transfer through technology. uh, there are tools through which it is done. I mean, it's not done through the normal email process. There are certain tools through which it is done, and yes, a number of buyers is there. So this is syndication of content. Then the fourth way of earning money, earning revenue for any online media organization is the services like SMS. Now, what is this services like SMS? So you must have seen that during the World Cup or Olympics, you get a SMS from Airtel or Vodafone or different service providers uh, that we will be updating you with the latest, cricket score, who has won. I mean, whenever there is a match, we will be updating you, and for that you have to pay maybe 100 rupees for a month, or whatever the charges are. And people uh, very often subscribe to such services. There are services which uh, you know uh, they also advertise about sharing certain breaking news, that if there is a breaking news, we will share with you, and you subscribe our SMS service, and you know in lieu of the money that you give, they provide services of sending those information, sending those news items to their customers. So that is again a very, a very popular way. And you will very often find that in all the media houses, in the online media space, they have a dedicated person who caters to such type of, demand, where he is sitting and he will be, uh, the, there is that tool through which it is sent, and he will be constantly on that tool if there is a breaking news or there is a cricket match happening. So whatever the customer has subscribed to, they will be sending them without any delay, the fastest possible. Okay. So that was about the another way of earning revenue, that is services like SMS. So is that understood by everybody, whatever we have taught till now, whatever we have discussed till now?
Yes, sir.
Any confusion, any doubt? So, it is, since I have told that many a time, this medium is called new media because it is the latest medium, and nothing is fixed in this medium. As the other, resource person who was taking the class just before me, I heard her saying that, in the email campaign, there's a scope for somebody advertising in your email campaign. I mean, when you send the email to people, there are parties who are interested in, uh, having his company's logo or whatever they are on your email campaign. So that is, that concept is very new. That wasn't there in the email campaign 2 years back or 3 years back. It wasn't there. That is something which has emerged. So what I'm trying to say here is that, the experiment keeps on happening, new things keep on coming, and this is what the out of box thinking is. This is what the out of box ideas are, and we all should be aspiring, we all should be thinking of such ideas, that how to make a particular thing much more easy, how to make, I mean, do something which will bring money to the things that we are doing. That is something which is very important. And those are the people who are valued in any company. That if you come out with something new, if you come out with some idea which can, lead to much more monetization, can increase the revenue, then you are the champion. You are the people who will be sought after. So the basic thrust of the discussion is that the things which were not happening maybe few years back is happening now, and the things which will happen few years from hence is not happening now. So that's the constant change, and that's the constant evolution which is taking place in the new media space. So new media always, or the media as a whole, always face this challenge of, depending so much on the advertising revenue for their survival. And what happens whenever an economic crisis happens, whenever there is a slowdown on the economy, whenever there is a thing like COVID happens, the media industry witnesses the onslaught the greatest. Why? Because for any industry, for any organization, the advertising is something, which is not basic. It is over and above the basic requirement. So when they curtail their revenue, when they, try to control their expenditure, the first casualty is the advertisement. They think कि ये सबसे पहले, इससे यार क्या फर्क पड़ता है, इसको बंद कर दो, ये एडवर्टीजमेंट जो है उसे बंद कर दो. Now what happens when this happens? The direct effect is there on the media industry, whether it's print, whether it's television, whether it's online. And when their revenue reduces, the the onslaught or the effect is felt on the employees, who are very often asked to leave in such crisis. Their pay are reduced. I still remember in my this 26 years of career, that the churning has been 3 or 4 times. Whenever the economy slowed down, there was a recession, the churning happened, people were asked to leave. That the economy thing happened twice. Then this, when the COVID started, I mean, in the first phase, many people were asked to leave. Then many people were asked to take a pay cut. So what I'm trying to say here is that an attempt to find an alternative model of revenue, an attempt to find an alternative way of surviving was something which was going on and is still going on, that we should not be totally dependent upon advertising for our survival. And in that, I mean, it's not only confined to India, I'm talking about a global phenomenon. So in that, what emerged that why don't we, you know, uh, start charging for our content, which means that if people want to read, why don't we charge certain amount of money from them? So if everything is paid, you get water, you get soil, even in lieu of money, you have to pay certain amount for getting that. So what is harming, charging for the content consumption? Although this is not something which was not tried earlier, it was tried very early, but sometimes, the people were at that time not ready to pay and it failed. I still remember, I mean, maybe 15, not 15, 16, 20, 21 years back, the India Today group, when they launched the newspaper Today, so they tried to make it a subscription-based, a paid website. So they made it compulsory that you can only access the content when you pay whatever they had fixed, 500, 300 rupees, whatever it was. But unfortunately, the people at that time were not prepared to pay, and they could not get subscription, they could not get paid subscription, and the revenue was not enough to sustain the product, and it was closed down. So in the West, since last 2-3 years, that debate was going on that we have to adopt this subscription model in order to survive the industry, in order to make ourselves not so much dependent upon the advertising revenue. And as a result, they experimented with it. New York Times was one of them. Harvard Business Review was second. And they first, what they did was, as a gradual process, they asked everybody to subscribe, become a subscriber, in the sense you register first, and then only you can access our content. So that was done in order to see the amount of people visiting the site, and in order to take an estimate of how many people are the serious readers. Because unless you are a serious reader, you will not register yourself if you are gone by chance, or you are not have the intention of consumption. So that is how they started asking them to register first. And when that data came to the New York Times, the data was very high. And they thought that, even if the total number of subscribers that we have, or the people who have registered for consuming the content, even half or 1/4 is converted into the paying customer, the customer who will pay, then also, our work will be done. And they did it, and they did it successfully. Their estimate was right. And they started getting money, people were started paying, and seeing New York Times and other publications also started following suit. And around 1.5 years back, you'll be surprised to know that the revenue earned by New York Times website is more than the revenue earned by New York Times paper, the print paper. So that is how it happened. So in now you go to any the Western websites, European websites, whether it's New York Times or Washington Post or Deccan Herald or Harvard Business Review, you are not allowed to consume the content without paying. So you need to pay, and that amount is not very big. It's generally, it has been kept as something around 300, 400, 500, which is, I mean, affordable and anybody can pay. Media business is the only business, newspaper is the only thing whose price has not gone up in last 10, 15 years, 20 years. ₹1.5, ₹2 पहले भी मिलता था, आज भी ₹2, ₹2.5 मिलता है बस, जबकि और किसी भी चीज का प्राइस अगर आप देखें तो 10 गुना 20 गुना बढ़ गया है in last 20 years. But it has not happened in case of the newspapers. In case of the magazines, it has increased. I am not saying that it has not increased, but it has not increased the way other commodities, the prices of other commodities have increased. Okay. Is that clear? So
Yes, sir, yes.
now taking the cue from the events of the West, what is happening? The Indian publishing houses, the websites also started in that direction. And around 2 years back, they also, started asking their customers, their visitors, their readers to register on the website for accessing the content. And then when they also became, comfortable that we have a substantial, people who are coming to our website, those, I mean, websites who became comfortable that yes, हमारे पास जो है 10 लाख लोग आते हैं रोज के दिन में, अगर 10 लाख में से 2-3 लाख भी अगर कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं पेड में तो हमारा इतना रेवेन्यू हो जाता है. And you must have seen that there are websites in India also that is asking for money. Economic Times is one of them. Times of India has done it in a different way. They are saying that if you pay this much, you will get content without any advertisement. Economic Times has said that, if you want to read certain premier content, you have to pay this much. So they have started taking baby steps in that direction, and it will certainly have a fallout with on the other publications. They will also follow suit and they will also introduce that. And I think it's a good phenomenon as far as we professionals are concerned, so that our dependence on the advertising revenue is lessened. Anything that you want to ask on whatever we have discussed? So Times of India is asking for, 950 rupees if you want to, access a content that is without any advertisements. Okay. So should we go ahead, or you have any question to be asked? क्या हुआ, थक गए क्या सब लोग?
नहीं sir, please continue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you sir, thank you.
So I hope that everything has been understood.
Yes sir.
Okay, fine. So the next topic that I will be, taking with you is basically that how the same content that you promote or that you offer on the online has to be made compatible with the medium in which we are working. So there are basically certain characteristics about which we will be discussing about the online media, and that characteristic has to be taken into consideration while offering a content for the online audience. Okay, so जो एक सबसे बड़ी चीज है ऑनलाइन मीडियम में, मैंने एडवांटेज जब आप लोगों को पढ़ाया था तो ये चीज पढ़ाया था कि इसका एडवांटेज है कि there is no limitation of space. Okay, you can have as much as possible the text that you want to offer. So that is the advantage which this medium enjoys. But at the same time, the various research, the various surveys shows that a particular story which is very lengthy, with more than 800 and 900 of words, is not read on the online platform. ठीक है, क्यों नहीं पढ़ा जाता है? उसके दो तीन कारण हैं. The first is reading from a newspaper, reading from a paper is much more easier and less exhaustive, less painful than reading from a computer or a telephone, a smartphone. Number one. Number two is that a majority of the online readers that are present in India are the readers who do not access internet, who do not access any site or consume content on desktop or laptop, but they consume content through online platform, as consume content through smartphones. Now, a smartphone is something which you don't use it like desktop or laptop while sitting somewhere comfortably and then you open it and then you see it. It doesn't happen like that. The smartphone, the consumption pattern is you are traveling, you are in a metro, you are traveling in a bus, you are traveling in a car, and then at that time you are trying to consume content. Okay, you may be sitting in your office and then after working for 2-3 hours you become exhausted and you try to see that what is happening and you consume content. So the consumption on the smartphone is the maximum, and that is why you have to take care. The previous lady was saying that you have to always think of your email campaign, that how it will render on your mobile device. Why? Because more than 80% of the consumption is having on mobile device. It is only the 20% people who are seeing, who is reading things on the desktop or laptop. So that is why it is very important that you see that how it is rendering on the mobile. अब मोबाइल का अगर आप पढ़ने का पैटर्न देखोगे तो मोबाइल बहुत छोटा स्क्रीन होता है. अब छोटा स्क्रीन में जो है वो आपको जो है सो कि बहुत बड़ा स्टोरी नहीं पढ़ा जा सकता है, पहली बात. दूसरी बात कि आपका रेंडरिंग जो है टेक्स्ट का और पिक्चर का वो मोबाइल के हिसाब से प्रॉपरली जो है सो कि ऑप्टिमाइज्ड होना चाहिए. सो अ पर्टिकुलर पिक्चर मे लुक गुड ऑन अ डेस्कटॉप, लेकिन अगर मोबाइल पे वो ठीक अगर नहीं दिख रहा है, देन the objective is defeated, the objective of consumption is defeated. So you have to always think in terms of mobile if you really want to grow your site. दूसरी बात, अभी आपने देखा होगा the pattern of presenting a content in a bulleted form. ठीक है, so bulleted forms में जो content, it's the story, same thing होता है, but उसको bulleted forms में देने पे it becomes easier for the customers, the audience to consume those content. So ये सारी चीजें जो है तो कि आपको you have to take into consideration all those things while you are making content for the online medium. ठीक है, दूसरी जो चीज है, आपको ये कहा जाता है कि जो डेस्कटॉप पे भी जो कंटेंट अपीयर होता है, it is convenient that one page. So एक तो ये बात हो गई कि in spite of having this advantage of having there is no limitation of a space in this medium, in spite of that we need to have our content less lengthy. It has to be a short and crispy, because that is the way, that is the pattern in which the people in online absorbs those content. पहली बात. दूसरी बात ये हो गई कि जो लोग डेस्कटॉप पे या लैपटॉप पे भी कंटेंट को कंज्यूम करते हैं, उनका जो रीडिंग स्पीड है वो प्रिंट से जो है तो कि कम होता है. ठीक है, प्रिंट पे जिस स्पीड से आप पढ़ते हो उससे जो है कम स्पीड से आप लैपटॉप और डेस्कटॉप पर कंटेंट को पढ़ पाते हो. एंड इट exhausts your eyes, it exhausts your mind very quickly. दूसरी चीज ये है कि आप कोशिश ये करो कि उस कंटेंट को एक स्क्रॉल में जितना आता है डेस्कटॉप पे या लैपटॉप पे, एक स्क्रॉल में रखो. और दूसरा, अगर कंटेंट बड़ा है तो गिव अ पेज ब्रेक फ्रॉम देयर. ऐसा नहीं कि नीचे 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 जो है तो कि कंटेंट फ्लो कर रहा है और जो है तो कि रीडर को नीचे नीचे जा जाके पढ़ना पड़ रहा है. दैट इज नॉट अ वेरी गुड यूजर एक्सपीरियंस. द गुड यूजर एक्सपीरियंस इज दैट एक स्क्रीन में जितना कंटेंट आता है, इफ इट इज 300 वर्ड्स, इट इज 400 वर्ड्स, आप उतना दो. अब उसके बाद अगर आपका कंटेंट बच जा रहा है, देन नेक्स्ट का एक जो है तो कि लिंक दो एंड टेक द रीडर टू द नेक्स्ट पेज and then again next page. Okay, so this is how it has to be done, this is how it has to be presented. ठीक है. Another important thing जो है कि जब आप डिलीवर करते हो फैक्ट्स को, ठीक है, जैसे कि प्रिंट के लिए यू हैव टू हैव इंट्रो विच इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ ए स्टोरी. ठीक है, द हेडलाइन विच इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ द स्टोरी. प्रिंट में इट इज वेरी सिंपल एंड इट टेल्स व्हाट द स्टोरी कंटेन्स. ऑनलाइन मीडियम में क्या है कि you try to generate a curiosity for the readers to click on that particular link. ठीक है, तो आप देखोगे हेडलाइन में there is a slight variation. What is that variation? That variation is that, do you know this? Who is Karunanidhi? You know who? अगर लता मंगेशकर का डेथ हुआ तो who is लता मंगेशकर? Such type of things where there is an attempt to create, there is an attempt to generate a curiosity about the content so that the reader clicks on that particular content and reads it. So that is the difference in the presentation between the the print and the online. ठीक है, is that clear? दूसरा The sentence length you have to keep into consideration while you are presenting in the online, that it should be very short sentence. Okay. What is that short sentence? A short is a very competitive thing. But generally, it's 10 to 12 words in a sentence is fine. And you also try to maintain a consistency as far as the other sentences are concerned. So if you decide to keep it 10 to 12, then try to keep it 10 to 12 all the sentences. I know it is not possible practically, but maybe this 12 goes to 15 or 16, but not to 22 or 28 or 30, as it happens in the print. ठीक है, बहुत बड़े बड़े बहुत लंबे लंबे sentences जो है, तो कि online के लिए it is not advisable. We should try to keep it short. Maybe if a sentence is very long, we try to put a full stop and make another sentence so that it becomes short. And we try to, maintain a consistency on the length of the sentence. The verb should be active and the language should be simple. Active verb, you know what it is. So that is in fact applicable for other mediums also, that you keep the verb active and the it is always in the active voice that a sentence is there. It's not in passive voice. You know the difference between the active voice and the passive voice. Anybody from the team? What is the difference between active and passive voice? कोई बताएगा? That's very
Active
basic.
voice, active voice simple, passive voice means punchline.
ठीक से बोलिए, ये 5वें क्लास का सवाल है. एक एग्जाम्पल देके मुझे बताइए तो, एक्टिव वॉइस और उसी को कन्वर्ट कीजिए पैसिव वॉइस में. एनीबॉडी?
Sir, where subject is supreme and in the other sentence the object is supreme. Like
Can you give me an example?
Sir, Ram is eating a mango is eaten by Ram.
Yeah, good. So Ram is eating a mango is something that, the way a story is written. It is not that a mango is written by, eaten by Ram. What you said was perfectly all right. So it should be in active voice. The second is the passive. It becomes passive. We should not try to have our sentences in passive voice.
Sir, one thing I want to ask you,
Yes,
that because of these kind of, sir, strain on eyes. I'm also an eye patient actually. So online readability, how it can be increased? Like you suggested that shorter sentences and other things. That is very true about any good writing. Like if you are writing,
yeah, totally agree.
That is good, sir. But these days, audiobooks are coming, and can that changing the pathway to audio form, like if people are turning, and the software engineers, they can turn the HTML directly a kind of pathway to audio form, so that can also increase
that's
the
that's a very good suggestion. In fact, that will happen. In fact, if it is available, I would not like to read a 2000 word story. I would like to listen to it and know what is there in the story, if that is available. And if
that way people can also listen passively while they're traveling, while they're doing other things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And the effort or the tiredness which reading generates,
yes,
particularly on the web medium, I mean, that will certainly be reduced by that. I mean, you will gain the knowledge also, and you will not have that much of exertion and strain on your eyes and your mind. आप देखते होंगे, मतलब अगर आप सुबह से शाम तक कंप्यूटर पे है, जो कि हम मतलब लोग रहते हैं, मोस्ट ऑफ अस, रात में 10 साढ़े 10 के बाद, मतलब देयर इज सो मच ऑफ टायर्डनेस. द टायर्डनेस इज नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ the work that we have done for 8-10 hours. The tiredness is because of the screen that we have been seeing for 10 hours. So
yes, sir, I recall, sir, that after this Sucheta Dalal, who broke that story, and that Harshad Mehta scam. So
Ah,
she used to bring out an e-magazine called Money Life, and it was very readable. But I could not read it because of this medium. Otherwise, sir, had it been like Outlook Money or some, we could have gone and bought it on newsstands. But it was not available. So it was a kind of e-magazine. I think she
okay,
was editing
okay,
it. Money
okay.
Life or something.
हाँ.
So very
नहीं अभी
readable.
तो
But
जनरली यही ट्रेंड है ना, लोग मतलब लोगों को लगता है कि अब सारा कुछ ई ही चलेगा, प्रिंट जो है फिर कुछ चलेगा नहीं, और चल भी रहा है, बट somehow this the issue that we are discussing, स्ट्रेन वाला और आंख वाला चीजें, that is a very real issue, and that can at the moment can addressed by podcast, but
yes,
apart from that I don't know what else can be done to address this
and
issue.
podcasts are becoming very popular, I think, in West, sir, I think. Huh?
It is I told you, basically everything starts from west only. It is they who do it first, and then we do it, we follow it. So it has become very popular there, and now we have also started following it. And the other day I was telling you about that how podcast something or the other is happening in every media houses on podcast. So that is how it is.
Okay,
Anything
sir.
else?
Thank you.
Anything that you have not understood with regard to the presentation of the content and how it has to be presented in online media and the print, how it is different from print, the presentation that we are talking about. Any question or any addition, any thoughts on it? Okay.
So can I just ask? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
please go ahead.
So it may sound a little silly.
No,
But
there's nothing silly in
thank
such
you.
conversations.
Thank you.
Don't ever think about it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Uh.
I was just wondering, I mean, the media houses today have introduced the system of paywalling content. So you need to pay, like you were saying, you need to pay to watch content or read content.
Yeah.
Now, how is it not contradictory, sir, that if you are introducing paywalling to read your content, is it not driving away consumers of content, because not everybody can afford to pay a subscription to watch or read your content? Does it not affect your revenue model, or does it not impact the way your traffic, for example? Because people, not everybody, I mean, if I go to Times of India, for example, and I find that everything is paywalled, and I have to pay 5 rupees, 10 rupees every time I have to read an article, I would say I would rather go and read Nai Duniya or something else. So is there not a contradiction here that, I mean,
media business is just like any other business. And I have told that before also, that the media houses are not on a mission to, educate the society or make them a better citizen or whatever, good things you can think of. For them, it is just like, if somebody is producing a soap or somebody is producing a, car or a scooter, they are producing, news, or they are producing content. So that the ultimate objective of any industrialist and the objective of any person who is the entrepreneur and who is driving all those things is to make profit. So there should not be any doubt in that. Now, how will the money come? I told you about the various crises which the media industry face. Now, they, in order to survive, in order to earn profit, they also have to think of the ways that how the money will come, and this is one of the ways through which the money will come. As far as your question of that when you go you are asked to pay, so right now the Indian companies or the Indian websites have not made the entire content paid. So what they have done is that if you want to read the prime content. If you want to read the most valuable content, you have to pay. But if you want to read the ordinary content, you don't have to pay. So in case of Times of India, they have introduced, as I told you, that you pay 950 rupees and we will provide you content without advertisements. In Economic Times, similarly, I don't remember the money that they are taking, but they have said that, premier content is something that if you want to access or if you want to read that, you have to pay. Okay. So, but ultimately, the aim is to charge money for reading anything. तो ये अभी जो है, ये तो मतलब शुरू तो इन्होंने इस तरह से किया है कि बिना ऐड के कंटेंट में पैसा ले रहे हैं, प्रीमियर कंटेंट में ले रहे हैं, लेकिन आज से 5 साल के बाद वो हर कंटेंट को पढ़ने के लिए पैसा लेंगे. The ultimate aim is this. As far as your question and your observation is that कि अगर टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया पेड है और पैसा मांग रही है, तो आई विल नॉट गो टू द टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया साइट. मैं नई दुनिया में चला जाऊंगा, मैं तीसरे किसी में चला जाऊंगा जो कि अनपेड है. लेकिन होने क्या जा रहा है, कुछ दिन के बाद, 5 साल के बाद जो है, द प्रोसेस हैज स्टार्टेड, ये सब लोग पेड हो जाएंगे. तब आपके पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं होगा कि आप नई दुनिया जाएंगे या आप सहारा जाएंगे या कहीं जाएंगे. आप कहीं भी जाएंगे आपको पे करना पड़ेगा. ऑफ कोर्स द पेमेंट विल वेरी अकॉर्डिंग टू द क्वालिटी ऑफ द कंटेंट दैट यू वांट टू कंज्यूम. अब आप टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया का कंटेंट कंज्यूम करना चाहते हैं तो आपको थोड़ा सा ज्यादा देना पड़ेगा पैसा. आप अगर नई दुनिया का कंटेंट करना चाहते हैं तो थोड़ा सा कम देना पड़ेगा, लेकिन देना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. तो दिस इज हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू बी, आई मीन, इन फ्यूचर.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू.
थैंक यू
तो आपके पास चॉइस ही नहीं रहेगा ना. आपको तो कहीं ना कहीं तो अगर या तो आप कंटेंट कंज्यूम ही करना छोड़ दीजिए, तो वैसे तो सब कुछ छोड़ दीजिए. साबुन लगाना छोड़ दीजिए, खाना खाना छोड़ दीजिए, कपड़ा पहनना छोड़, आई मीन देयर इज नो एंड टू ऑल दोस थिंग्स. जो आपके हैबिट में आप चीजें तो करेंगे ही, एंड दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर योर बेसिक लाइफ. So you will have to pay.
सर एक सवाल है सर मेरा.
हाँ राजीव, बताइए.
सर ये प्रिंट की जो है कि वो रिलेवेंट रहेगा हमेशा, प्रिंट मीडिया?
हाँ, प्रिंट मीडिया में एक्चुअली राजीव है क्या कि सबसे बड़ा जो चैलेंज अभी ऑनलाइन मीडिया जो फेस कर रहा है वो है ऑथेंटिसिटी का.
हाँ यस सर.
हाँ, कि कितना ऑनलाइन मीडियम पे जो इंफॉर्मेशन है, जो
कंटेंट का बाहर आ गया है.
हाँ, वो जो है कितना जो है सो कि सही है.
यस सर.
हाउ मच ट्रू इट इज. तो फेक न्यूज वाला जो कंसेप्ट है वो ऑनलाइन से ही शुरू हुआ.
यस सर.
नॉट स्टार्टेड विद प्रिंट और टेलीविजन. So that is the biggest challenge this medium is facing. और जब तक ये चैलेंज रिजॉल्व नहीं करेगा ऑनलाइन मीडिया, जब तक इस चैलेंज को इफेक्टिवली काउंटर नहीं करेगा, तब तक प्रिंट रहेगा.
और दूसरा वो जो सर आपने बताया कि जो प्रिंट ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया का जो इफेक्ट है या फिर ऑनलाइन जर्नलिज्म मीडिया में जो हम पढ़ाई करते हैं तो वो जो हेडेक होता है या फिर आई को इफेक्ट करता है, तो वो सब कारण से भी लोग मतलब प्रिंट को प्रेफर करेंगे.
हाँ, मतलब दैट इज देयर ऑफ कोर्स. मतलब वो एक है, लेकिन वो कितना ज्यादा ये फैक्टर इन्फ्लुएंस करेगा ये
किताब पढ़ना सर, टेक्स्ट बुक पढ़ना सर आज भी मतलब सबसे अच्छा मीडियम होता है.
हाँ बिल्कुल
स्टडी का.
लेकिन उसकी पॉपुलैरिटी तो घट रही है ना.
यस सर.
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ, वो होता तो है बिल्कुल, लेकिन उसकी पॉपुलैरिटी घट रही है. लोग कम से कम पढ़ रहे हैं.
यस सर.
और मतलब खास करके जो कागज पे जो प्रिंटेड जो चीजें होती हैं उसको लोग कम से कम पढ़ रहे हैं. सर्वे तो यही दिखा रहा है, ट्रेंड तो यही दिखा रहा है. दैट इज द एक्चुअल थिंग दैट इज हैपनिंग.
यस सर. थैंक यू सर.
ठीक. एनीथिंग एल्स? एनीथिंग एल्स? ठीक है. नाउ दूसरा जो चीज है वो ये है कि लैंग्वेज तो सिंपल मैंने बताया आप लोगों को. अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज दैट एक्सेप्ट रीडिंग हैबिट्स, डोंट चैलेंज देम। कहने का मतलब ये है कि जो रीडिंग हैबिट्स डाटा बताता है ऑनलाइन पे, उसको एक्सेप्ट कीजिए, और ऐसा मत कीजिए कि नहीं ये इसलिए है रीडिंग हैबिट कि अभी तक जो है तो कि हमने इसको चेंज करने की कोशिश नहीं की है। ठीक है, सो डाटा से इन्फ्लुएंस लीजिए और उस रीडिंग हैबिट को मान करके चलिए, उसको एक्सेप्ट कीजिए और उसी तरह के कंटेंट को रेंडर करने की कोशिश कीजिए। ये मूल मंत्र है ऑनलाइन मीडिया का।
यस सर।
जैसे अगर आप देखिए तो सैटरडे संडे को जो है वो लाइटर कंटेंट का मतलब कि न्यूज हो ना हो, वो समथिंग फ्रॉम एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री लाइक बॉलीवुड, लाइफस्टाइल, उस तरह का कंटेंट जो है तो कि ज्यादा वर्क करता है वेबसाइट्स पे सैटरडे संडे को। तो ये जो है तो कि डाटा बताता है आपको, एनालिटिक्स जो आप देखेंगे तो आपको ये पता चल जाएगा ना। जब पता लग गया तो ट्राई टू फॉलो दिस ऑन योर वेबसाइट, ट्राई टू प्रमोट सच कंटेंट ऑन योर वेबसाइट्स ऑन वीकेंड्स। ठीक है, ना कि आप ये कहें कि नहीं ये चूंकि हम देते हैं एंटरटेनमेंट का कंटेंट वीकेंड्स में इसलिए लोग पढ़ते हैं, हम नहीं देंगे तो उनके पास तो कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं होगा, वो वही पढ़ेंगे न्यूज जो हम देंगे। तो डोंट थिंक लाइक दैट। ठीक है, नहीं तो वो दूसरे साइड पे चले जाएंगे विच विल डिफीट योर पर्पस। सो एक्सेप्ट द रीडिंग हैबिट्स एंड डोंट चैलेंज देम, दिस इज व्हाट इट मींस। और अनदर थिंग इज अवॉइड कोलोकियल वर्ड्स एंड स्लैंग्स। कोई भी स्लैंग्स जो होता है, स्लैंग्स आप समझते हैं क्या होता है? स्लैंग्स जो होता है जो कि एक्चुअल वर्ड नहीं होता है, बट बोलचाल में उसको यूज करते हैं। If you are from Delhi and you have studied in Delhi University, the people there calls Kamla Nagar Kennex. Okay, so that is something which is a slang. In Delhi University, the people from Bihar, the students from Bihar are called Harris. So Harris jo hai, it is not something which is a word, it's a slang which is prevailing. People use it. So in the online editing, in the online presentation of news, please do not use such words. Okay, so that brings to an end to both the topics. The first was basically the monetization of a website, how it is done, and the second was the presentation of the content on print and the online media. So if there is no question, we can end this conversation here and we again meet tomorrow with a different topic.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था मेरा सर।
बिल्कुल पूछिए सर।
सर ये मल्टीमीडिया से नहीं है, मैं थोड़ा ये जानना चाह रहा था, प्रिंट मीडिया में साप्ताहिक मैगजीनों का कुछ स्कोप है सर, क्योंकि आप पहले मीडिया में काफी अनुभव है आपका सर।
प्रिंट मीडिया में साप्ताहिक मैगजीनों का, साप्ताहिक मैगजीन बेसिकली आप सप्लीमेंट्स की बात कर रहे हैं?
साप्ताहिक अखबार और मैगजीन दोनों।
साप्ताहिक अखबार की बात कर रहे हैं?
जी सर, जी सर।
So
कुछ स्कोप है
basically
फ्यूचर
what you
में?
want to say is that instead of daily, there should be a weekly newspaper.
फ्यूचर है कुछ उसका, ये पता करना था।
मुझे लगता है कि इसका फ्यूचर बड़े सिटीज में नहीं है, मेट्रो सिटीज में नहीं है, लेकिन अगर आप ट्राई करना चाहते हैं छोटे सिटीज में
जी,
तो कर सकते हैं। छोटे सिटीज में मतलब जैसे मान लीजिए टायर 2 और टायर 3 सिटीज है, जैसे कानपुर है, पटना है,
उसी के साथ उसके जैसे आजकल चैनल का लग रहा है, यूट्यूब चैनल भी है चैनल का, और साथ में यूट्यूब उसमें अपना वो मोबाइल फोन में जो आते हैं, जैसे आज तक के यूट्यूब चैनल भी आते हैं और मेन चैनल भी आते हैं, तो इसी तरह साप्ताहिक का भी पोर्टल भी बना सकते हैं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। इनफैक्ट पोर्टल तो अब हर चीज का होना एकदम मस्ट है।
जी जी,
खास करके मीडिया से रिलेटेड कुछ भी है तो
जी।
पोर्टल तो होना ही होना हो, चाहे वो साप्ताहिक हो, चाहे मंथली हो, चाहे कोई भी
जी।
प्रोडक्ट हो, उसका पोर्टल तो होना ही होना।
उसके
और
तब
अगर
कुछ
अच्छा है कंटेंट, अगर लोग लाइक करते हैं तो आप पोर्टल
सर
को भी पेड कर सकते हैं।
सर
तो सर
ये
जैसे कि रीडेबिलिटी का तो मतलब रीडेबिलिटी का जो प्रिंट में सर या फिजिकल मीडियम्स में पेपर्स वगैरह घटते जा रहे हैं, तो ये तो मतलब कन्वर्जन जो है टुवर्ड्स ई पेपर और ई मीडियम्स है। तो सर जैसे पहले हम लोग बचपन में देखते थे कि पराग है, लोटपोट है या चंपक है, इतनी ज्यादा छपती थी, लोग नुक्कड़ कॉर्नर और रेलवे स्टेशन पे कितना खरीदते थे। तो अब ऐसा नहीं है, लेकिन वैसे टैलेंटेड लोग क्या किसी इस तरह से प्लेटफॉर्म के थ्रू जोड़े जा सकते हैं सर, जैसे कि मतलब उस तरह की ही मैगजीन्स या उस तरह के एक नीश टाइप का मैगजीन बच्चों के लिए खास करके तैयार हो और लोग उस मतलब साइट पे जाकर ऐसा मतलब मुझे लगता है सर कि जिस तरह की रीडेबिलिटी घटी है, तो उसमें इस तरह के नीश मैगजीन्स का या ई मैगजीन का भी अपना स्कोप होना चाहिए, जैसे सर बता रहे हैं वीकली या पाक्षिक इस तरह से।
हाँ नहीं, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, क्योंकि वो उस चीज को अभी तक जो है सो कि कोई रिप्लेस कर नहीं पाया है। जो आप
जी
बोल रहे हैं
बिल्कुल
बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं। पहले हम लोग ट्रेन से ट्रेवल करते थे
बिल्कुल
तो
बिल्कुल
हर
हर एक
बड़े
स्टेशन
बड़े
पे।
स्टेशन पे वो
जी जी
बुक स्टॉल टाइप का दिखता था।
जी
और हम
एच
लोग,
व्हीलर का सर।
हाँ 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 हाँ, और हम लोग खरीद करके वहां से मैगजीन और ये सब पढ़ते थे। बट नाउ आई डोंट सी दैट ऑन द प्लेटफॉर्म्स।
और बच्चे लगातार मतलब वायलेंट गेम्स और ये सब में मतलब अफ्लिक्टेड है
हाँ
पूरी
हाँ
तरह से। तो सर उस तरह के टैलेंट को अगर एक जैसे सर ने वीकली की बात करी, तो अगर उस तरह के टैलेंट को अलग अलग नीश में अलग अलग टाइप से अगर पोर्टल के माध्यम से ही जुटाया जाए, तो हो सकता है कि कुछ अच्छी चीजें मतलब सामने आए, वेबसाइट्स ही सही,
ऐसा
वेबसाइट्स
गुड
मतलब कि
आइडिया मुझे, अच्छा आइडिया है। क्योंकि बच्चे का उस तरह का कोई प्लेटफॉर्म तो मतलब
और
फेमस
टैलेंट
तो
भी
नहीं है, हम लोग तो नहीं जानते हैं। अगर
स्टोरी।
होगा भी तो बहुत उस लेवल पे होगा, लेकिन फेमस तो अभी तक नहीं हो पाया है बच्चे का, जो कि रिक्वायरमेंट तो है।
जी क्योंकि
और
सर
रिक्वायरमेंट,
एनिमेशन।
और वो रिक्वायरमेंट जो है तो कि कोई प्रूफ करने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो ऑलरेडी प्रूफ हो चुकी है।
जी
क्योंकि अगर चंपक और लोटपुट जैसे चीज इतने सालों तक चला तो
जी
रिक्वायरमेंट तो है ही ना, मार्केट तो उसका है ही।
जी।
जी
और वो लैंग्वेज लर्निंग सबके लिए बहुत अच्छी ही साबित होती थी पहले भी, अभी भी
बिल्कुल
है।
बिल्कुल, आई टोटली एग्री, आई टोटली एग्री। हम लोग जब बचपन में हमारे पिताजी ये बोलते थे कि भाई न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ो, अंग्रेजी अच्छी होगी,
जी सर।
इंग्लिश न्यूज सुनो, अंग्रेजी अच्छी होगी। सो दैट
जी
वाज आल्सो अ वे टू लर्न द लैंग्वेज।
इवन बीबीसी हिंदी एंड ऑल सर सर।
या so that was the way to learn the language. So आजकल पता नहीं, perhaps that requirement has reduced or whatever you may say.
No, there should be some platform where people can confess these things. They can actually witness these things कि ये सब चीजें हैं। और नहीं तो पता ही नहीं चलता है सर, इतना ज्यादा मीडियम चेंज होता जा रहा है ना कि कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता कि वो सब चीजें चली कहाँ गई।
That is true. That is true. चलिए कल मिलते हैं फिर।
जी
ठीक है,
सर।
थैंक यू सर,
ओके
थैंक यू,
बाय, थैंक यू, गुड नाइट।
नमस्कार।
थैंक यू सर, बाय।